This is what a week.
What a week. PoliTricks.
PoliTricks.
Welcome back to WAW What a Week #PoliTricks. He's like the sober person at a biker rally or a political youth league meeting. Some might see him as a bit strange, others might see him as a rare island of clarity. We usually see him as our guide in the ever-moving arena of PoliTricks. Please give a wow. Welcome back to Botsang Modimowame Moiloa. Tang!
Yes, Brother Tato, good morning. Good morning to the followers, the viewers, and the subscribers.
Yes, sir. Welcome back.
Thank you very much, and good to see you. Your birthday week.
Thank you, sir.
I don't know if our viewers knew it was your birthday. Happy belated.
Thank you very much. I'm now your age.
I'm still a few months older than you.
Man. No, yeah, you're older than me, so I'll always say about.
Yes. No, I hope you had a great one, bro.
So, Parliament burnt down. Well, not burnt down, but parts of Parliament were burnt.
Yes.
The inside of Parliament. And the report is finally out.
Yeah, the investigative report is finally out by experts. We should remember that parallel to that, previously there was a court case against the accused. Mafe, yes. And that was also concluded. The court ruled that he's mentally unstable and he's been, sentenced to go for a mental hospital. But this parliamentary report, it was to investigate actually what actually transpired. Did parliamentary staff and officials do what they were supposed to do to prevent such measure to happen?
Sure.
Fresh, one of the most interesting and scary part about it is of the report from the Secretary of Parliament was that the number of hours spent.
He spent the whole day alone, just walking, just wandering around.
Without being detected by anything, whether cameras or sirens or alarms.
But you need to remember, this was, during COVID? And we're told that a lot of the security staff had been told
to stay home.
Stay home or relax or chill.
But in this instance, it looks like all security staff. Now, when people who are in security industry, you don't switch everything completely off.
Yes.
If you put the warm bodies out of work, then you switch your alarms on, you check the logs, but also routine inspections.
Absolutely.
That one has to conduct in between. And the report by the Secretary of Parliament came out to say actually they had found 5 people being placed on suspension.
Okay.
And they're going to be investigated now for neglection of their duties. And then, always there'll be somebody to be blamed for such. But such an insurgence in Parliament, if people were put on leave and the entire security of Parliament has been compromised, and how much more we don't know about security in this country to what state, key points, that's a key national point, Parliament. And also now it's going to cost us billions either to move Parliament from that place or to fix whatever it's being damaged. It's going to cost billions of rands, which actually brought in other political parties to say maybe it's time for us to move Parliament from the old building.
It's a sign.
It's a sign.
Mama gave us a sign finally.
That they should move. Yeah, but again, it's so many reports coming out, damning reports. In between there's a report from the National Prosecuting Authority about white-collar crimes that were being investigated in the last 1 year.
Okay.
Again, zero delivery. Not even one white-collar crime from the report of the NPA has been prosecuted and completed.
Do we know why?
Well, it's incompetence. We spoke about the Shamila Batoyi.
Yes.
Has always said they don't have resources. But we all know how many times did the Treasury give extra money. Even the president at some stage made an allocation available for the NPA in order, after the Zondo Commission, in order for the NPA to fast track all these white-collar crimes, which involve mainly corruption. The Zondo Commission, not even one person has been found guilty and sentenced out of that commission where we spent 2 billion as a nation. But Chapter 9 institution, Shamila Batoyi, everybody is quiet about. She delivered zero in her performance agreement. The things that she had said she will deliver, not even one has been attained or achieved, and the nation is quiet about it. And guess what? What was actually of interest to me on the National Prosecuting Authority report is the fact that after so many, there's almost 7 or 8 cases against the head of state in South Africa, whether it's Pala, whether it's the son lying to the Zondo Commission or any other matter, not even one of the head of state is on the list of the cases that are tabled at the NPA. Not even one. Zero. So those are some of the challenges we are faced with in the country, to say Chapter 9 institutional government processes are there, laws are there, rules are there, but we are not moving forward. And it causes a despair to the people of South Africa to say, but why would we ban on courts and the justice system and the prosecuting system and the police system when none of these people ever faces the music, and none of these cases they will run for between 10 and 20 years. You understand? So the wheels of justice, some people always say they are turning slow. They are not even turning at the moment.
In fact, are there any wheels?
Well, probably we are sitting with vehicles that have no wheels. Your truck here has better wheels. At least they are deflated. I think they will move better than the NPA wheels.
And these are run flats, so we will still move here.
I've never seen an off-roader with run flats, only with fresh.
The CEO of NESFSAS is in the news. And, students have been complaining that CEO had a money grant.
Yeah.
And Alta have also been saying, no, man, what's going on here? So what, apparently, allegedly found wanting?
Thumbs up one to the students
Yeah.
from the time of fees must fall until late last year.
Sure.
Students have been called. Thumbs up to them for raising these issues. They were ignored. I remember at some stage the Minister of Higher Education, called them names and irresponsible and brats. Now, what the students were coming up, it has come out after another investigative report, an official one.
Okay.
And it was also another pressure from Outer.
Sure.
Outer coming up last year, October, and saying, no, but these complaints of students, they seem to be legitimate. There seems like there is something involved there. And what is said about this NAFSA's report, Fresh, is that, and this is why I always say, corruption hurts the most vulnerable.
Yes.
And people who are corrupt, they don't realize that actually some students lost on their studies. They had to drop out of university in the middle of your degree or your diploma. They were chased out of accommodation that was supposed to be paid by NEFSAS because the CEO, and I'm not saying allegedly, because the official report is out, because the CEO had his hand deep into the cookie jar with his executives and personnel. And not only him, according to the chairperson of the board of NEFSAS, who presented the report yesterday, he said the report has found, and it's confirmed, that the investigation that the CEO was involved. He was so involved in these tender processes and involving money and grants to students to an extent that he even said in the Tender Control Committee meetings. Now, where have you heard of a CEO that sits in Tender Control Committee meetings? And they say, what is damning in that report also, they say he was not only sitting there, he was actively participating, and even on conversations that are recorded, you could hear that he was swaying other members of the committee.
Botsang.
Give Fresh and Botsang this chant and all that. And then, as I always say, people don't steal directing government at the moment. And I'm in the middle of that whole thing, at work. They siphon money through tenders, through law firms, through service providers. Then behind the service provider, the CEO is like a shredder machine. It's like that dustbin. They put money through this tender control committees, and then they put them through these companies. Then at the back, where the shredder throws in the rubbish, and I call it rubbish because corruption is rubbish.
Yes.
And what is also interesting is that this report of NEFSAS, and I think the student organizations must stand up. The COSASs, the PASMAs, and the EFF, Youth League, all of them, they must do what they did during the fees must fall. They must rise and make sure that this case gets prosecuted as soon as possible. And those millions are recouped from those people. Because taking people to court and you don't get their money back, they must recoup those millions from them. They must pay back the money they've stolen. And again, we should not focus on the CEO only, because the chairperson of the board report says even other members, even other junior staff, and executives and senior management of NEFSA, they were involved into this whole process. You know what was worse? Unheard of. I've been in the public service for over 25 years. I've never heard of a situation where a CEO goes and appoints an advisor to the treasury regulation or treasury processes of a tender. They appointed an advisor, paid millions to say, come and advise us, how should this committee function?
You are lying.
Yes, that's one of the findings. Treasury has made regulations on what we should do as public servants in dealing with tender processes. The regulations are very clear. It's PFMA, there's the CEO can't get involved, the board can't get involved. The CEO gets involved, goes and appoints his friends, goes and appoints an advisor, pays the advisor millions while students are starving, students' fees are not paid, to advise me on how to implement. You are the CEO. And again, this is what I spoke about last week. The people that political parties, and particularly the African National Congress, are deploying into government. It is actually shocking that even those who are educated or certificated or qualified, they still do such things. You can't tell me they're dumb. You can't tell me they don't know what they're supposed to do. If you have a master's degree or an honors degree from a certain university and you are employed or deployed to be a CEO and you still do things against the book, I don't think it's because you can't read. I think you are corrupt to the core.
Yeah, because why are you outsourcing decisions you ought to be making?
You don't even make. You have to implement.
Implement,
The Treasury
yes.
has given you guidelines.
Exactly.
And it shows the level and the core of corruption in the public service. You know, the looting in this current administration, it's unprecedented. It's worse than ever before. The way people are looting state-owned enterprises, entities, agencies, and departments. But you know what I've said? Maybe as a country, we should start prosecuting these people not as white-collar crime, but as crime like it's a heist. The only difference between these boys with AK-47s, Kalashnikovs, and cash in transit heist, the difference between those people and those sitting in boardrooms is because the other one is having a pen and a tie, another one is having sneakers and a Kalashnikov together. But they are looting, they are robbing the state, they are robbing the nation money, and I think they should be prosecuted in a criminal process the same as cash in transit robbers.
Remember the child from the Walter Sisulu University, Sibongile Mani?
Yes, the one who was overpaid.
She was erroneously paid 14 million rand by NSFAS, and she spent, she went on a spending spree with her friends. She's spending 5 years in jail.
Yes.
Why are none of these guys going to jail?
And exactly, and I'm glad, Fresh, you are raising that. First, it's just 5 years in jail, and she didn't consume all the money for that matter.
She skimmed just from the top.
Yeah, a typical youngster, a typical youth went shopping, drinking, and all those things. And you put that girl, first of all, it was wrong for her to consume the money that was not hers. But 5 years she's in jail. People who intentionally
Premeditated.
plan and steal money.
Intentional.
If the CEO of NEPSAS goes and sits in a tender control committee meeting, influences, he had all this planned.
Yes.
And now we're going to spend the next 7 years trying to prosecute this guy. While it was so quick that the day that girl was caught, the case ended, in less than a year.
Yeah.
She was prosecuted, charged, and jailed. And this is where we always say the justice system in South Africa is unjust to those who don't have money. Now, if that girl was a thug who planned this whole thing, she could have taken that money out of the account, keep it some cash under a mattress or a sofa, I don't know, because head of state has guided us, it's either the mattress or the sofa. Put the money there. That girl should have used that money.
Yeah.
You know for what? For top lawyers in the country. To defend her.
Yes.
Understand? To defend her, she should have not been in jail. But because she was innocent or ignorant or naive, she didn't think of that. The money was there, spend the money.
And probably scared.
They should do that mistake in the state and put money in my account. You will see how money is spent.
The ANC policy conference ended a week ago.
Yes.
Yeah. What happened there?
Look, I think it was the reiteration. The ANC was reflecting on their policies. Every year in July they sit and they draft policy. The policy conference happened in July, but this was the National Executive Committee Working Group, and closed by the head of state, Mr. Ramaphosa, in this instance, by the president of the ANC.
Oh yes.
On Sunday evening. Look, nothing new. Rhetoric statements, acknowledging where they did wrong. Acknowledging President Mbeki a week before had put them under pressure to say, you had said you will prosecute people.
That'd be a renewal of sorts.
That's a renewal.
I'm not seeing a renewal.
There's no renewal. Not even one person who has been cited in the Zondo Commission. Over 100 of them are cited there in different areas. They're still sitting in their position, except one or two, Ace Makashule. But we know with the Ace case, it was not because of the Zondo Commission. It was because of the battle between him and President Ramaphosa or the other faction. But there is no renewal. Generally, I think President Mbeki was correct. There are no signs of the ANC moving towards their renewal plan. They are, what do you call it? There's a committee of that is led by the oldies, that is talking about the renewal and integrity committee.
Oh, yes.
The integrity committee, I've always said it's a toothless dog. It cannot bite. They can make noise and nothing. But again, they focus on geopolitics. They came out with very clear statements for the change. They didn't contradict each other this time. I saw the Secretary General speaking exactly the way the President spoke the night before. They took a very, very clear position on the situation in Palestine and Israel.
Sure.
And actually the position of the ruling ANC is actually talking to also the position of the government. So at least there is consistency there. And then they touch on BRICS and focusing on the BRICS Bank.
But President Ramaphosa, without mentioning President Mbeki, obviously responded.
Yes, he responded, but really, let's look at the facts. Let's look at the things that happened. He had to respond because they could not ignore.
Yes.
While President Mbeki has been hammering on this thing for almost every month. So they could not just put a blind eye on it, especially when President Mbeki had said, it's going to be very difficult for some of us to try and convince people to vote for the ANC.
Yes.
But President Ramaphosa tried to respond. What was the response, Fresh? They didn't do anything. They never prosecuted anybody. They never suspended anybody. They never charged anybody. The ANC, even in the middle of trying to go through a renewal process, they still do what I call own goals or shoot themselves in the foot. They talk something this week. Next week, one of them is found wanting. If it's not Popo Molefe resigning, it's CEO's resigning. If it's not CEO, it's Pravin Gordhan. Let's look at the Pravin Gordhan. In the middle of this whole thing, one of the things that senior members of the NEC of the ANC came out with was lashing at Pravin Gordhan, the performance as SOE. But what have they done? They just talk, and Pravin, you know what? He doesn't even attend those things. So I think the response of President Ramaphosa was to try and shift aside what President Mbeki had said. I don't think President Mbeki is going to keep quiet. I don't think it ended because on Wednesday, I received an invitation by, the school that is run by Thabo Mbeki African School for Public Admin and International Affairs. They are having a seminar coming on the 25th of October, and I'm invited to that seminar, being a member of the school.
Oh, yes.
To come and discuss again governance and corruption. And how it's not functioning and it's collapsing the economy. So I don't think President Mbeki is going to end up this. But people are saying President Mbeki is taking the ANC from outside. Let me tell you what is good with what President Mbeki is doing at the moment. He is bringing important matters into the public fora, into the space, and he's doing it not caring whether it's ANC or PAC or DA or UDM. He's just saying this is where the country is heading to. These are the challenges we are faced with, and let us engage and debate and put these things on it. And I think it's good for the country. He loves the ANC. He's the son of the ANC. But if you love a person, you tell the truth to that person.
Tough love.
Yeah, it's tell the truth. Unlike misleading and polishing and putting makeup on wrong things. When makeup's wears off, the ugliness comes out.
Exactly. If a child umude, you tell them, "It's my child umude."
Exactly.
Makeup out.
Okay, exactly. Or type, and I think that's what President Mbeki is doing. President Mbeki is trying to say, I'll force the ANC, I'll push the ANC, I'll expose it so that they must see that they've been putting sugarcoating and putting makeup. And they don't realize, actually, they should be very happy to have a person in the caliber of Thabo Mbeki leading them. Even when things are wrong, he still says you are doing wrong.
Yes.
And I think
that's what a leader does. That's what a leader does.
That's what a leader does.
And an elder.
And an elder as well. I listened last week when the Secretary General Fikile Mbalula loosely lambasted Thabo Mbeki a day after he came with a corrective statement to say, he's an elder of the organization. I here and there visit him to learn and suck information. That's how we do it. It's a broad church. It's robust engagements in the ANC. It is useless. ANC members and leaders, it is useless to sit in conferences and meetings, have robust discussions and policy positions that you don't implement. It's a useless effort.
Sure.
So they are wasting their own time. They are misleading the nation.
Sure.
I've always said ANC policies are good ones. They don't have people who are driven and who understand how they should implement them. The RDP is left with 7 years. Remember, the RDP was RDP 2030.
Yes.
7 years to go. When did the RDP was developed? In the early 90s, mid-90s.
Sure.
Almost 20, 30 years, 7 years to go. They haven't even achieved 30% of the RDP plan. And it shows that the lack of capacity or the lack of will.
The capacity is there.
I think the ANC is well-educated, well-informed.
The minds are there. The skilled people are there. It's just getting it done.
And I think, I don't know what can they do. I don't know what the renew. Maybe I must learn or borrow a leaf from President Kgalema Motlanthe to say the ANC must implode.
Sure.
Then it will renew. For as long as they're in power, for as long as they're enjoying the benefits and the gravy soup, and they think everything is smooth, I think it blinds them. They don't realize that this will come to an end very soon, and they will not have DGs, ambassadors, CEOs who will influence their position. They're not aware. They think this thing is a pipe dream. It will not happen. Let me tell you how it's going to happen. This is the strategy that Julius is using. Julius has been quiet, if you noticed. He's focusing on building the EFF student movement. They've now covered all universities. They have taken almost every university or tertiary institution in, let me put it, in South Africa. You know why? It's not about the student rights. It's the youth. 20% of the voters' role in this country is with the youth. And Julius is putting his mind and effort. He has even deployed people from the National Command Council into those tertiary institutions. If the EFF can convince the youth to vote, remember, we already know that the ANC will lose. But if they can convince the youth to vote, the ANC will get the shock of their life.
Absolutely.
And I don't know why the African National Congress is not seeing this coming. They are already planning to go on coalition with who? The EFF or the DA or the Black Front. I mean, really, how do you plan to go on coalition when your marriage is collapsing, when your house is falling down? You already plan to talk to your neighbor to say, if my roof collapses, can I?
Yeah.
No, you don't work like that. You focus and you put your energy in making sure the roof doesn't collapse.
Absolutely.
And they are not doing that.
Another roof that has been rattled, Kenny Kunene of the Patriotic Alliance has been in the news regarding his stance on Hamas and what's happening in the Middle East. What's happening there?
Look, I'm glad you are calling it the Kenny Kunene stand on Hamas because I listened to his speech.
Yes.
And I followed, and it was not only him. I think the president of the Patriotic Alliance, Katie McKenzie, was a little bit subtle about it. But Kenny went for the juggler. I'm brave. You know, I can say things, but I know which battles to enter into.
Yes, sir.
I think it was very reckless of Kenny Kunene to talk about Hamas in the manner he spoke. It was an event organized by Israel.
Okay.
And there are people, obviously, nobody is forcing one party to support another party or another side. Some people are with the Palestinians, some are with Hamas, some are with Israel. The Patriotic Alliance has a right can be with any
to associate.
To associate,
yes.
Okay? And he, first of all, I must give him credit. He was very clear to say, we are not taking sides between Palestine and Israel. But then he lambasted Hamas. Politically, in geopolitics, in what is happening in the world, if you know how this extremist militant organization, whether it's Al-Qaeda or Hamas or Hezbollah, if you know how they operate, they're all over the world. I wouldn't say such reckless statement to say, one, he said, Hamas, it's an extremist terrorist organ that is killing women and children. You know, Fresh, until today, even the CNN reporters who lied, they came back and they said, we never saw the headless babies. We never saw the decapitated people. We were misled. And after all that, Kenny Kunene comes and say, they cut children and women heads off. None of us, nobody has come up with bodies of Israel children and women where Hamas had cut their heads off. Nobody has said that, has seen that. And he went on and he said about Hamas, we will hunt you. You will be hunted. We'll come and get you the way Al-Qaeda was destroyed. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, hey, bra, this is a reckless statement. You know, if you know how, and I used to tell you how these people operate in cells. It's not like they're in a military camp like the Afghanistan war. They're all over the world. They have cells in South Africa. I've written about it. I spoke about it. And you don't go and insult those people when you can criticize them. I said with you, you stated your side of the story that killing innocent women and children is wrong. We shouldn't do that. We all know that people are claiming that Hamas is not the Palestinian government. It is not the Palestinian government, but it's a force to be reckoned.
Sure.
And I personally...
But should we live in fear of them, though?
Yeah, exactly. But I personally think the statement of Kenny Kunen, it was unfortunate. And it was not helping the situation. And looking at knowing Kenny's background,
yes,
and his political, he doesn't start politics now. Kenny has been in politics. People were like, he's uneducated. Kenny's educated. He's a former maths and English teacher.
What of people who say he's singing for his dinner?
Look, it's politics. Somebody, what do you always say? There's a paycheck. Every head has
every man has a price.
Yeah. Remember what happened about 3 or 4 weeks ago? The Patriotic Alliance went to Israel to learn about coalitions. You understand? Now, this reckless statement says to us as analysts and observers, oh no, learning about coalition was to go and collect your paycheck. It's okay. Everybody has a fund. The political parties gets funded. There's NGOs, political parties. It's okay to tell them, but it is an unfortunate situation. The Patriotic Alliance has been on the roll. The ball has been rolling. They've been doing very well in municipalities. They never contested national elections. And this was an opportunity for them. I would have not done that. I would have maintained a position of let's focus domestically in the country. We are already having a challenge with them not wanting illegal foreigners. It's already, it's already an excuse. But I think they should have not jumped directly like that into a band. If I was an advisor, into that bandwagon. It was too early. It was infancy stages. They are not yet a political party in the National Assembly in South Africa. To take such a stand and openly and in public, I don't think politically it was a wise move.
Now, it's also affected the relationship with struggle icon Alan Busak.
Alan Busak, yes.
Because they'd proposed naming a street after him, but now he's saying because they are pro-Israeli, they can keep that renaming.
They can keep the yeah.
Well, what are your thoughts on that?
What has happened is that Alan Busak, there's one thing, he has been consistent. And, it shows that he's got a principle.
Yes.
He rejected the ANC. He didn't want to participate in the UDF 40th anniversary and all those things. And I think it's a principal position from Alan Busak to say, first, I had appreciated that you are recognizing me. You wanted to name a street after me. I'm a recognized figure, the founder of the UDF. It's okay, good as well. But I'm principled as Alan Busak. Is it Dr. or Reverend Alan Busak? I have a position to say, I am pro-Palestine. We have a history with Palestine. And I cannot be associated with a political formation that is pro-Israel. I just think it's a principled position. No hard feelings. But for the progress of the country and the building of the opposition, I think the Patriotic Alliance, they must not be put pride in front of them, including Allah. They must go and re-engage, not just for naming the street, but I think Reverend Alan Busak can still play a role in as a leader, as an elder in South African politics. And for any party, we can get a leaf, 1 or 2 from him, a star, 1 or 2 from him. But I think it will be wise if they go back to the drawing board and engage. I actually had thought by now the Patriotic Alliance would have come up with a statement. Political parties do that. You go and Fikile Mbalula does it better. And Julius, you go and you talk rubbish on a public platform. And after that, you come with a very diplomatic statement. After that is 1 paragraph, short and nice, to say we were quoted out of context. Or the manner I was saying they didn't mean this. I can write it for them if they pay.
Yes, it didn't land as planned.
Yes, but this is what I intended to say. That's what they should do now. I don't think they should just leave this. It will repair relations between them and Palestine, and the international community and other parties and Alan Busak and potential voters. They have more to benefit in correcting that.
Now, in fact, since we're here, let's actually travel to Gaza with what's happening in the Middle East. U.S. President Biden is there. He flew in, I think, on Thursday, Wednesday.
On Wednesday.
Wednesday night, he obviously would meet Netanyahu. He was also going to meet the King of Jordan, the President of Egypt, and all of that was called off when a hospital was bombed. And we stated last week, at least I did, that I believe Hamas going into the south of Israel and indiscriminately killing innocent people was wrong. But also, indiscriminately bombing the Gaza Strip is also wrong. It's also wrong. But because Israel has declared war, immediately there's a war, there are rules of engagement.
Yes.
There's rules of engagement. You don't turn people's water off. You don't turn people's supply off. Food supplies. You don't bomb hospitals. So surely these are war crimes. And if these are war crimes, where's the ICC?
Again, you see, you are putting me into a corner to praise Minister Naledi Pandor.
Which is not a problem.
Naledi Pandor. No, I don't like praising politicians all the time, but she's doing so many right things.
I love Mama Naledi. I love you. I love how measured she is. I love how sober-minded she is.
So she's something out of this. Where is this woman being all along? Eh? That should be the president. She takes positions.
Yeah.
And responding to your question, Jericho led by me, Naledi Pandor. I said it's a coincidence. You know, yesterday I said Naledi Pandor is a star.
Sure.
No pun intended. Naledi, for people who don't know, is a star in Setswana. So the lady is actually the #1 ambassador of South Africa. She's demonstrated. Jericho has already taken a position to the ICC to say, as much as Israel is not a member of the ICC, the same way as Russia is not a member of the Now, this is a direct one, where the ICC, remember the ICC took President Vladimir Putin, they issued a warrant of arrest for what? For taking women and children and war crimes. Yeah. Now, this is a direct one. This one is not taking them to Russia for safety place and release them. No, this one is bombing them. Netanyahu, supported by the Americans, is bombing the Palestinian defenseless people under the disguise that Hamas is hiding. You know, these guys, they are saying Hamas
are hiding amongst the people.
Yeah.
Including in that hospital.
They are actually saying Hamas is launching missiles from the hospital ground. That's why they have treated. Guess that hospital, who built that hospital? The Americans. The Americans built that hospital yesterday. Now, if you know, and last week I spoke about how Mossad, the Israel intelligence arm, is known as the best in the world. I don't know what makes them the best. I still think North Korea is the best.
In fact, they're so effective, not even a fart can leave Israel or enter
without
Israel
them smelling
without
it.
Mossad knowing that, okay, a fart is coming in.
Exactly.
That's how effective they are.
And they knew about that. They know, or they assume that Hamas is launching from the hospital. Why don't they enter into combat? In a battlefield, in a war situation, in terms of a declared war, as you said, you know where the target is. You don't go and bomb the hospital where there's women and children. You get into combat. You take men on the ground. And you know why is Israel not doing that? Because they know they will not match Hamas.
On the ground.
On the ground. They will not match them in a battlefield. That's why they are using aircrafts and bombing. That's war crimes. And Naledi Pandor and Jericho and South African position, thumbs up. Let these people face war crime charges. And we'll see what the Americans and the Brits are saying now.
Have they not said that people must evacuate that area? And having said that, where do you expect 1 million people to evacuate to?
Exactly.
Because already they're living on top of each other.
That's why.
So where do we go to? Into the ocean? Like, where do we go to?
That's why after the meeting you referred to that was organized by the leader of Jordan and Egypt and Saudi Arabia. That's why after bombing, 500 people were killed in that missile attack, if not more. That's why the leader of Jordan said, nonsense, I'm not going to come and cause for peace truce, and I'm not hosting that meeting anymore, because while we are busy arranging a meeting of influencers into this whole process, that Hamas was also in Palestine were prepared to participate in that meeting. Then you throw in missiles. Does Israel want peace? I don't think so. But again, there's another element to that meeting. Minister Naledi Pandor, the only minister that I will address as honorable, had a call, a telephone call with the leader of Hamas. You know, that has sent shockwaves.
I was going to say, was that not ill-advised?
Now, I think I read the official statement of Derco, and they explained to say, no. Hamas tried out, and remember, South Africa is playing a peace process.
Oh, yes.
Say we want to bring peace. Now, if we want to bring peace, or you are a middle person or a negotiator, you talk to both sides. We can't
Speak to
say
all the sides.
or to all the sides that are involved. We cannot say South Africa must not talk to Hamas when Hamas is seen as a role player in this war. And what's wrong with a peace negotiator or a peacemaker to talk to the other party that is being seen as the influencer? I think it was a move in the direction. But Derco said, if Israel leaders want Naledi Pandor to talk to them the way she spoke to Hamas, they don't have a problem with that. They must raise the flag. They must say, and Israel can do it better because there's foreign relations.
Sure.
And at the day, I don't see anything wrong with that. I think it was a move in the right direction. If I know that Mr. X is seen as a perpetrator to violence and I want to bring peace, I will talk to Mr. X. And I think again, our international relations minister has done very well in this instance. He's got his doors and telephone lines open to talk to Israel, as much as the country and his political party has taken a pro-Palestinian stand. But the South African pro-Palestinian stand does not start now. It's part of our life.
It's been consistent.
We've been consistent with that. But it does not mean we should not talk to those that we don't like. It does not mean we should not talk to those that we differ with.
Exactly.
And Naledi Pandor does not support what Hamas is doing. But if I don't tell you that I don't like what you are doing, I don't support what you are doing, there's nothing wrong with that. And again, President Ramaphosa, if there are bonuses for ministers, Naledi Pandor deserves a bonus for her performance in her duties and limited to that. And I think it's a statement in the right direction. But as I've said last week and a week before, I do not see the Middle East crisis ending anytime soon.
You know what always blows my mind about the Middle East crisis is how when you criticize the state of Israel, automatically you're told you hate Jewish people.
Yeah.
This is the state of Israel, but you must hate Jewish people. How is it that we must be blackmailed like that not to call out the state of Israel for how you're treating people? You've come to people, taken the house, put them in the shed at the back, you control what goes in and out of that shed.
Yeah.
Then when you're called out about it, you must hate Jewish people. How does that work?
It's how the Jewish, and like I said, remember last week I said,
I think it's blackmail. I think it's unfortunate.
Blackmail, and there's a difference. And somebody said it. I don't know how true is that. To say there's a difference between a Jew or a Jew and a Jewish religion that was created. These Jewish people, somebody said, they were wishing. That's why Jewish. They were wishing to be Jews. Because the Palestinians, the Arabs or the Muslims, they lived in peace and together with Jew people. In Palestine and all over the world. We lived with them in South Africa. Even during apartheid, we lived with the Jews in South Africa. But they stand up now and issue statement to say anybody who's pro-Palestine or who calls Israel to order, as you say it, he hates Jewish people. I don't think it's hate. I think they have blackmailed, as you said, manipulated the world and their mentality, the people's mind so much since the Holocaust that they are being treated with kids' gloves. Understand? They are being treated with a manner that makes them to feel don't touch these children. Their forefathers were killed by Hitler during the Holocaust. Therefore, they can't do anything wrong. There's nothing like they're doing everything wrong. Occupying somebody's land is wrong. That on its own. Pushing people out of their land, jailing them in their, you have put them in a place whereby they need you to move, to live. Now you cut electricity, you cut water. And
then when we call it, that's exactly what apartheid is, you cry foul. That is precisely what apartheid is.
Even President Ramaphosa went to an extent of saying, you can't cut electricity from people because
Water.
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 The hospitals don't have, I saw one video of a doctor being interviewed there fresh, and he was being asked, they've told evacuate these people. And that doctor was explaining, say, these children are in incubators and oxygens. We can't move them. They will all die. It's as good as we should wait for bombs, and they were bombed.
Yeah.
But guess what was funny about this whole thing, to wrap it up on the geo? President Ramaphosa issues a statement and says, denying people water and electricity, it's genocide. Wow, Mr. Ramaphosa.
Are you trying to genocide us?
The city of Johannesburg,
Yeah.
it's without water. Where there's water, it's dirty. And we are without electricity. That's Mr. Ramaphosa trying to commit genocide to us. That was a far-fetched statement.
Never a dull moment in this country.
Yeah, no. But I don't think he did apply his mind very well before they issued that statement. Your country is going through load shedding and water shedding. There's a term they're using. I'll remember it next time. And then you say denying people water and electricity. And I'm not talking about Joburg only, Malamulele and rural areas.
Sure.
People have spent weeks without water. So is President Ramaphosa's administration committing genocide by denying the people of South Africa water and electricity? It's a topic for another day.
On that note, I think let's leave it at that. Great discussion as always. Please get involved. Go to the comment section. Tell us your views. If you disagree, please disagree. If you agree, also do likewise. But most importantly, like, comment, subscribe. And if an ad comes up, please watch the ad. Because if you don't watch the ad, then we can't make a little couple of cents so that we can one day pay our team here. So it's actually important to watch the ads. Don't skip the ads. Thank you very much.
They must not be like me. I skip the ads.
You're killing us. You're killing us.
It's okay, fresh. Yeah, they are wasting time, but yeah. The subscribe is very good to subscribe. And again, let's remind everyone, subscribe does not mean you pay.
Yes.
Does not mean you must fill your details. You just click there, then you will get the notification when we are on air.
Exactly.
But if it's Saturday morning like today, hashtag WAW what a week. And that's where we are. Yep.
Where do we find your social media?
botsangm@gmail.com. You can email me and you can inbox me on all social media handles at botsangm. Or even drop a WhatsApp on 082-485-9100.
Yes, sir.
I must acknowledge a receipt of all the people who have been criticizing us. Not for the content. That's what I like. They will complain about the sound, our dress code, the seating arrangement, not the content. We can't be that good. We want people to suggest topics that they want us to cover every week, and to also tell us if we are talking nonsense. And tell us what is the right thing.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, this edition of WOW What a Week, hashtag PoliTricks, is done. We are part of the Africa Podcast Network, coming to you from AM Studios, downtown Johannesburg. Shout out to Trevor and his crew from Pezulu Works for the cinematography, our audio imaging courtesy of Otis the Flow Fraser, our guest Botsang Moiloa, creative producer Kuvesh Mohan, and show producer Keletso Modisakeng. Email us at waw@africapodcastnetwork.com. Till next week, have a great week in spite of yourselves.